If you want to know the secrets of existence and the true meaning of life, I can't help you. But if you want some book recommendations, why not try reading the ones I wrote? If you're a fan of giant monster mayhem and anime weirdness, why not try Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1? If horror is more your style, you can't go wrong with The Occult Mafia. Those who enjoy their fantasy with a dark twist may be interested in Emerald of Maddox City. And if you're interested in shared universes, why not read all three? Hop on down to the description for links to all three books on Amazon. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video. Alright, first bits of the Godzilla vs. Kong soundtrack have been dropped today, both on the Water Tower Records YouTube page and on Junkie XL's YouTube page. The respective tracks are Pensacola, Florida, Godzilla's theme, and Skull Island, Kong's theme. And you can both certainly tell they're composed by the same guy, but that doesn't mean they are the exact same kind of music. A lot of people have been noting that Godzilla's theme, at least as we hear it now, sounds a bit more ominous than Kong's theme. The Kong's theme sounds more what you would expect from a heroic theme, whereas Godzilla's theme sounds more like what you'd expect from a villain's theme. And that is not lost on me. But I do have a few thoughts as to why that's the case, and on how maybe the two themes aren't as dissimilar as they may at first appear. Starting with the fact that Godzilla's theme sounds more ominous. Here's the thing. Godzilla's themes have always sounded more ominous, or at least the ones that stuck around have always sounded more ominous. You know the ones I'm talking about, the da-da-da, or things like that. They've always had that more menacing sound to them, even though they've tried to introduce other themes when Godzilla has gotten a bit lighter at times. Those ones never really stuck. You remember the theme that was in Godzilla vs. Megalon, and might have also been in Godzilla vs. Gigan, but I know for certain it was in Godzilla vs. Megalon. That one tried to be a more heroic sounding theme for Godzilla. You know, the with a trumpet blast of I was off key on that. You remember that theme, right? It didn't really fit Godzilla. It didn't sound like Godzilla heroically marching into the fray. It sounded more like Godzilla staggering home drunk from the bar at night. Whereas his classic theme of dun 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 dun, that theme, that really fits him. That fits his menace. That fits his power. That fits his aggression. And it's that theme and others similar to it that have always stuck around with Godzilla. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me that Godzilla's theme here sounds a bit more ominous. It might also be because Godzilla is playing a slightly more antagonistic role in the film, at least as far as we've seen in the trailers, but I once again say that I don't think we've seen everything that's going on just yet. Kong's music, of course, does sound more heroic. But historically speaking, Kong's music has varied quite drastically. You compare the original 1933 score to the 2005 Peter Jackson score, there's a huge difference between the two. The Max Steiner score has more of a sense of adventure to it, whereas the remake score sounds more tragic almost. It's got those mournful strings that play whenever Kong is on screen because the tragedy of the story is what they're really focusing on there. Whereas the original film, that's a big adventure. It's meant to be thrilling and exciting and get the blood pumping and have you on the edge of your seat as you're watching Kong battling dinosaurs and swatting at airplanes. Not simultaneously, of course. So, having him get a more heroic theme here, again, based on the context we're seeing at this point, it does make a certain degree of sense. But here's the thing. These two pieces may not actually sound all that dissimilar when you really listen to what they're doing. Kong's theme does ultimately sound more heroic. It starts in a slightly higher range. It has maybe a few more major notes than the lower resonance and minor notes of Godzilla's theme. But when you really listen, they're actually doing something very similar. Go back and listen to them for yourselves, because I don't think I can get away with playing the audio on my channel without getting in trouble, but listen to what they do. Both of these themes have a descending arrangement of notes. They pick a note as a starting point, and then the notes which follow go down. They don't go up, or if they do go up, they go right back down. There's a mixture of ascent and descent, but the emphasis is on the descent, and that's present in both of their themes. And that I find to be very interesting, because normally when you have a hero and a villain, you want their music to be the opposite of each other. Even if you want them to have a sort of similarity, you generally want the villain's theme to be like a dark reflection of the hero's theme. Actually, you can sort of hear that in the Godzilla 2014 score, where Godzilla's theme has a particular sound to it. You know the notes, the da, da, da. You see it goes up because Godzilla's meant to be heroic. But when the Mutos are on, every once in a while at least, you hear it start with the same place, but then it just becomes, it goes from dun, dun, sort of staying in that same level, but sounding more loud and almost chaotic and almost not like a note at all. So you can see that sort of way in which the music depicts Godzilla and the Mutos as opposites. But here, Godzilla and Kong's themes aren't opposites of each other. They're following the same pattern. Variations on that pattern, sure, they're not the exact same arrangement of notes, and not even the exact same notes present in each, but they're following that same idea of starting on a higher note and going down, as opposed to having Kong's theme go up to mirror Godzilla's going down. Now what that tells me is that maybe there's not meant to be a one is truly good and one is truly evil thing. Maybe we are building towards this idea where Kong and Godzilla are going to wind up together as a team at the end, even if we still get that fight where one of them wins, which we have been told will happen. Who's going to win? I don't know. But I do find it interesting that the music is reflective of that. As for what I think of the music itself, it sounds good. It has that sort of consistency with the music we've heard up to this point, but it sounds original, of course. This is, of course, by Tom Holkenborg, also known by his DJ name Junkie XL, and as I've noted when I first reported on that announcement, he works in more of a digital form of music than he does with, for lack of a better term, acoustic music. Not to say that he doesn't use acoustic instruments. There was that interview in which he talked about getting the biggest bass drum he could find for this particular score, but at the same time, it's more, he does more digital effects and more remixing, if you will, being a DJ and all. Now, this music doesn't sound like it's all digital, but it does sound more processed, if you will. It sounds like there was a bit more computerized manipulation to it than something like, say, the King of the Monsters score or the 2014 score, or naturally any of the classic Toho scores. So that is the main thing setting it apart, and I don't hate that. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of all digital music, mind you. I like it when the music actually has that raw sound to it, but for this particular purpose, I think it works. I've said in the past, digital implements, when used in music, it's all in how you use them that determines whether or not it works, and here I think it does work. Moreover, you can listen to this and kind of visualize what might be going on while the music is playing, sort of like with Bear McCreary's score. Take Kong's theme, for example. The beginning has that big, booming theme that clearly announces Kong is on screen. What he's doing, it could just be making an entrance, or it could be pounding the crud out of a skullcrawler. I don't know. But either way, you know that's him on screen, being big and powerful, and basically being King of Skull Island. But when the music has that lull in the middle, and this is a long piece, mind you, it's much longer than the Godzilla one, but there's this extended piece where clearly Kong isn't doing anything huge, but you still get the sense that he's there. One way in which the music changes kind of indicates that maybe we're seeing a scene between him and the little native girl he has a bond with. And then, of course, at the end, the music picks up into the loud and boisterous sound again, but it doesn't sound as heroic as when the track started, which tells me maybe this is the moment where Monarch incapacitates Kong to take him off of Skull Island. And of course, most versions of King Kong have always played with the idea that taking Kong away from his island is a bad idea. So naturally that music wouldn't sound triumphant, it would sound tragic. At least more tragic. In the end, I'm liking both of these tracks. I'm very curious to hear more. I'm especially curious to hear what music Junkie XL came up with for the other monsters who will be appearing. Not gonna name any names, of course, but we know some characters who are gonna show up, and it'll be interesting to hear what he does for them. In the meantime, though, I'd say the soundtrack is off to a good start. Got a good sound, different from the other soundtracks we've heard so far, but not in a bad way. Actually, come to think of it, I kind of hear bits and pieces of the Pacific Rim theme in there. Not like he just took those notes and put them in, but more like it's an influence. I can sort of hear, you know, the music that plays in Pacific Rim whenever the kaiju are there? It kind of sounds like there's a bit of influence from that. Not that I'm complaining, of course. Pacific Rim has a great soundtrack. And if this soundtrack is anything like that, I'll definitely be adding it to my regular playlist. And those are my thoughts on what we've heard so far, and you can leave yours in the comments section below. Until such time as we meet again, this is the OmniViewer signing off.
If you enjoyed what you just saw, hop on down to the description for links to Patreon, DeviantArt, and all of our social media, as well as links for Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, and Emerald of Maddox City, 3 original novels I think you'll really enjoy. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.